All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to How to Write, Self-Publish, and Market Your First Book from Scratch. I am one of your co-hosts, Angela J. Ford. I am a writer and digital marketer, and I've published about 3 books at this point.
And I'm Jaquetta Gilbert. I am your other co-host for today. And I'm also a writer as well as a blogger. And I love this opportunity today. It's just great to be able to give back and share with first-time authors. I remember how it was for me, and I published my first book last year, and it was just such a great experience, and I'm just grateful to be able to share with everyone today.
That is amazing. That's awesome. Well, I guess we can go ahead and kick off while people are joining, but Jaquette, you have the writing section of it, and so I'd love for you to tell us a little bit more about the writing process, how we can get started with that, and then how we can make our writing sessions more productive. Because I know that, we all struggle with writer's block, and that's something that, I'd love to like sit down and just like churn out thousands of words at every session. And I know you can help us out with that one.
Yes. Well, as Angela said, I'll be talking a bit today about some things that help me with the writing process, and I hope they'll help you as well. Like I said, my first book that I published last year was 11 Ways to Jumpstart Your Thinking, and that wasn't the first time that I actually tried to write a book. It's the first time I actually succeeded. And what stopped me from writing before and publishing is because I was just clueless. I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't have any structure, any organization whatsoever. And so this time around, I was able to really buckle down, get serious, get organized, and things turned out well for me. So that's a little bit of what I'm going to be sharing. We'll talk about how to structure and organize, why you need to know your purpose for your book as well as your audience, and a few of the writing strategies that I use to help me write my first book. So the very first thing I'd like to talk about is purpose. You have to know the purpose of your book because it really sets the tone of your book. You need to know what problem you're trying to solve with your book. Your book should potentially solve a problem, even if that's providing comic relief, even if that is providing parenting strategies for parents of teens and they're having a communication divide and they want to bridge that gap. Maybe the purpose of your book is to provide money management skills for millennials who don't know how to get rid of their debt. There's so many different purposes you can have, obviously, right? But the main thing is you have to know what problem you're trying to solve and stick to that one thing. Once you have clarity on the purpose of your book, then you should be able to then decide who you're actually writing that book for. And let's just piggyback off of the examples we just talked about. If you're writing a book for parents who are struggling with then your target audience would be parents that have those teens and they're just struggling to really bond with them, to develop that level of communication that they need to reach out to them and to have a better relationship. So your audience then would be the parents of those kinds of teens. Same thing with if you're providing money management skills, your book is solving that problem, then your audience then would be millennials who struggle to have a better idea of how to budget, maybe millennials who don't understand the concept of debt. They just don't know how debt works. So once you have your problem that your book is solving, then it's a lot easier to figure out who your audience is. And if it doesn't make sense, just let me know. We'll talk about all the questions that you have, so that's fine. So once you have those two pieces of information, I found in my experience, it was a lot easier to write an outline for my book. And just as a disclaimer, I'm a nonfiction writer. So I have been dabbling in fiction, and I'm hoping to come out with a collection of flash fiction, but I'm not an expert in that area. That's Angela's domain. She could tell you more about that. But for me, as a nonfiction writer, writing an outline was golden because it kept your ideas clear. If you've got that purpose for your book to provide those parenting strategies, having that outline laid out, detailed in front of you, you're able to really see if your message is being met. You don't want to be talking about your trip to Chick-fil-A if it has nothing to do with the purpose of your book, right? You know, if that Chick-fil-A event happened because you were with your teen trying to bond, then that makes sense. But, you know, the purpose of that outline is to make sure that your content is on point, that it's serving its purpose. So that's one of the great benefits of having an outline. Another benefit of having that outline is so that you can gauge whether or not you have enough content. Do you have enough to say? And if you don't have enough to say right now, that's okay. You know, you can do research. Writers definitely have to do research, and that's whether you're a fiction or a nonfiction writer. You know, if you're writing a fiction book and it has some medical components to it and you don't have a background in that, then, you know, that's something you could research and include in your outline. Same thing for nonfiction writers. If you're writing about some topic and you'd like a little bit more meaty substance to it, you can do whatever research you need to and include that in your outline as well. So your outline will just give you that sense of, do I have enough to talk about? Do I need to dig deeper? So that's what I enjoyed about having an outline, because when I did first start my outline, I realized I didn't have enough content. So I did have to dig deeper. And I wouldn't have known that had I not done the outline. So I was very, very grateful for having done that. Once you've gotten your book topic, you know what problem you're solving, you know what audience you are trying to reach with your book, and you know your outline for your book, then you can go ahead and start thinking about some writing strategies to turn that book idea and that outline into an actual manuscript that you can be proud of. And so some things that worked for me, obviously, you know, you can write by hand. I'm a journaler, I'm a heavy journaler. And so obviously there's nothing better to me than the feel of a cute, really well penned in hand on paper. But obviously if you're writing your book, you know, you want to use a computer or something like that. But don't just think of typing your book out in Word or Google Docs as the only way to get your book written. There are other strategies as well. For me, I really like to use the voice recorder feature on my cell phone because a lot of writers know you tend to get those really great ideas at the most random times, right? You know, you could be driving down the road, taking your kids to school, or you're headed, you know, to work or wherever, or, you know, just whatever. And so I found that using that voice recorder feature on my book was really beneficial to me. You could just speak normally to it, you know, sentence by sentence, or if you're more of just let me get this topic kind of out of my head, you know, you could do some bullet points. But for me, I did try to do a lot more of speaking sentence by sentence. And I did that because when I got home later that night, I was able to actually transcribe what I had spoken into my voice recorder. So that's another thing. You can write by hand, you can use a voice recorder, and you can actually transcribe what you have spoken on your voice recorder. And there are a lot of programs out there that do transcription services for you, but I just prefer to do it myself. It's just one of those things. So you can actually, you know, if that's something you're interested in, you can pay someone else to transcribe it for you. That's always an option as well. Or you can just do it yourself. And I'm not sure if everyone is aware of, if you are typing your book into Google Docs, There's actually a voice to text feature on there, and it's free. I wish I had known that before I purchased a year subscription of a transcription service because it was essentially the same thing. So I felt like I, gave them free money. So that's definitely something you can look at. Just open up your Google Docs and you should see at the top a voice little icon, and you can use your headset like this, or if you've got really good speakers, without it, that's fine, but you can actually speak and it'll type for you. Now, everything's not perfect. You'll have to brush back up on, some of the spellings of words that sound the same, but I thought it was really great, especially to say it's a free resource. We're always looking for those free resources. So that's definitely something that you can try out. Something else in terms of writing strategies that helped me was to do a writing sprint. I am a mother. I am a wife. I have 3 children. I'm a full-time graduate student. I've got tons of stuff going on, like all the time, right? So time is very limited. And something that worked for me was, I would sit down and say, okay, I've only got 30 minutes to write at this particular time. And so it would just do something knowing, okay, I'm going to write for 30 minutes nonstop. I'm not going to focus on anything else except for this writing right now. So I would set a timer, and you can use a timer on your phone. You've got free timers online, whatever. Set a timer for 30 minutes. If you only want to do 10 or 15 minutes, that's fine. You can set your writing sprint for whatever time you want, and then just really focus in on that. Get in an area where you're not distracted. For me, a lot of times, to be honest, I'm hiding away in my closet or my bathroom away from my kids so that I can concentrate, so just do what works for you. And, just concentrate on that particular time, because we don't want to lose the ideas that we have inside of us. They really are meant to help others. We don't want to keep all that goodness to ourselves. And so we don't want to be a disservice to our audience who needs what we have to say to them. It doesn't matter what your book is about, someone needs to read it. So just value your time and make that effort to do those word sprints. If you want to, there's another technique called the Pomodoro technique. And there are different ways you can do it. You can write for 15 minutes, have a 5-minute break, write for 10 minutes, have a 5-minute break, write for 5 minutes, have a 5-minute break. So you can break it down like that as well. And another writing strategy that I found to be very helpful was having beta readers. And there are a lot of different ways you can go about doing that. You can use a lot of Facebook groups to scout out people that would be good beta readers for your idea. You've got this manuscript already written at this point, and so you could have a group of, say 5 to 10 people and give them your book to read. They give you honest feedback on it. Just make sure when you're doing your beta readers that you're strategic about it as well. You want people that will be able to give you the best feedback. You don't want people that are going to say everything is great, everything is fine. You want them to be honest because you want to produce the best work that you can. And so just be mindful of that when you're choosing your beta readers. And the last thing I'd like to talk about is after you've written all of that, I really highly suggest hiring a professional editor. You've written this lovely manuscript. You've, slaved over going from the idea process, outlining everything, got it all written out, done your beta readers, but you still can't skimp over the editor. And I will share a personal story with you before I hand it over to Angela. I am very proud of my first book. I finally did it. I finally have been able to cross-publish author off of my list of things I wanted to do in life. However, I will tell you that I had no clue what I was doing, and I paid for an editor, but it actually ended up to be someone who was a proofreader editor. Now, you may not know this, but there are 3 different kinds of editors. You've got your proofreaders, your very basic which they're also a lot more cheaper because they're not doing quite as much. You've got your developmental editors, and they kind of look at your paragraphs just to make sure, as paragraphs, they work okay. But then you have your content editors, and your content editors are like, think of your high school English teacher with the red pen and they're ripping everything apart, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this. But you choose the kind of editor that you want for your service. For me, I'm actually working on a revision of my book because the guy that originally edited my book, he did a great job as a proofreader, but now that I have a lot more experience in this industry, I realized that a content editor would have served me a lot better. A little bit more pricier, but definitely worth the investment because I know what I want to produce. I want to produce the best quality that I can for my readers because they deserve that. So that is what I had to talk about with you all today. Just a quick recap. Make sure you know your purpose of your book. Once you know that purpose, it'll let you know who you are serving, your audience, and then you'll be able to clearly strategize by making that outline, choosing a variety of writing strategies that will help you turn that idea and that outline into a manuscript. And then once you have your manuscript, you can definitely think about hiring or looking into forming beta readers and getting your book professionally edited. So thank you for letting me share today, Angela.
That was awesome. And I'm actually going to pull up my presentation. But while I'm doing so, I love what you said about outlining the book and then using the Google voice to text. I had no idea that was there. So that's an excellent tip.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then the other thing is with outlining, it works really well for nonfiction, for fiction as well. I outline my books and I kind of outline them. But it helps so much because then you know like what you're going to do. And that's so helpful. Then you're not aimlessly writing. So
right.
That's amazing. And the writing sprints, awesome. Okay, can you see my screen okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome. Good. Well, that actually was a good place to like drop off at because my first book also was like, it was just a complete just fall apart. So this is actually a screenshot of it. And I do book launches now, but in 2009, I published my very first novella and it wasn't that great. And the thing about it was that I didn't really do anything with the marketing of it. I just kind of published it secretly and told no one about it. So of course, no one talked about it. No one was excited about it. No one bought it. And it really just felt like a huge failure because when you spend all that time like outlining and writing and just taking the time to do something amazing, you do want to celebrate it and you do want people to talk about it and buy it. And if you don't do that, it can feel like, oh, I put out all this great work, but no one cared. So fast forward to 2015, it was when I published my very first full-length novel. And it's fantasy. I write fiction, particularly fantasy, but the things I'm about to share with you, they work very well for any kind of book that you're doing. Like the strategy is the same, you just need to tweak it to apply to your book. So when I published this book in 2015, it was so exciting because I mean, people were excited about it. People were talking about it. I could post a picture of it online and people would just like come around and be like, oh my gosh, where can I buy this book? I need it, la, 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 just like on and on and on. And the thing that I realized was because there actually was a marketing plan for it, I actually sat down and I wrote out my book launch plan. And then I made sure that I was doing different things to talk about this book all the time. And that's why this plan works. As a matter of fact, it works so well that like it sold thousands of copies because people were excited about it and I had done my marketing right. So I'm going to give you my step-by-step guides to making this work for you. And then I'll tell you how to take it to the next level as well. So number one, just when you sit down and you decide your purpose for your book, you know, why are you writing this book? The same thing with your book launch. You need to sit down and decide what your goals are. Why are you doing this book launch and what do you want to get out of it? So a couple of things that come to mind, like maybe you want to raise sales for a book that you previously published. And so I'm in the middle of planning a book launch for my second full-length novel. So one of my goals right now is to, bump up those sales for my very first book, which I mean is working very well right now. So that's definitely something I can see those goals are working. Then another goal you may have is to grow your email list. When I published The 5 Warriors, I was starting from zero. I had no email list whatsoever. I didn't have a website. I didn't have an author platform. So one of my goals was to start growing that and to build that. And then maybe you have a certain number in mind, a certain number of books that you want to sell on your book launch day. So make sure you write down that number, whether it's 50, 100, 1,000, whatever you want your goal to be, because the higher number of books that you want to sell, the more you'll have to do with your book marketing plan, and the more you'll have to do to really grow your platform, build your email list, and find those book ambassadors that can help spread the word about it. And so, of course, another goal that comes to mind is, grow your author platform. And so this is helpful regardless of whether you are a fiction writer or a nonfiction writer. One of the things that you do want to do is grow your author platform. As a nonfiction writer, it could be because you offer some services or courses, or you're looking to get some speaking opportunities, and you want to use that book as the platform for that, like the thing that's going to get you in the door to those different speaking opportunities. And you'll have something that people can buy right away and learn from you, and then they'll come back to you for, to buy your services or to take your courses or whatever it is that you're offering. So, publishing a book could be the start to growing your author platform, and that could be one of your goals with, wanting to build this big book launch plan. So there that is. And then step 2 is your budget. So like Jakut mentioned, editing is something that you should put in your budget, and there are different kinds of editing. So for me personally, I actually use my beta readers to really help me with the character development, the structure of the book. Like, they have very great feedback that they come back with. So that's something where I can look at my editing, and for the most part, I need a proofreader to catch all of my grammatical mistakes, because I just love making those grammatical mistakes. So those are the things that you'll need to put in your budget, and you'll need to put this together and say, okay, how much am I willing to spend on my book launch? How much am I willing to spend on editing? And you can reach out to different editors and start getting in quotes for it, so that you'll know when you're putting your budget together. And then book cover design. Are you going to hire someone to design a gorgeous cover for your book that sells itself? If so, what are you willing to spend on that? And reach out to designers to see, what does the market look like for that? What kind of quotes can you get? And then you'll definitely want to put together a landing page. I like to call them your book sales page. And this is the page that has all the information about your book and, where people can go to purchase it, a description, they can opt into your email list. It really is the one-stop hub for your book. And so I highly recommend having that landing page, and, you can do it yourself or you can hire someone to do it. And again, make sure you write that down in your budget, whether that's, $0, I'm going to do it myself, I'm just going to invest time, or I don't want to deal with it, I'm going to invest money to pay someone else to do that. Same thing with your author website. You can have an entire website, especially if you're building your platform, you're going to be offering things other than books. A website would be an excellent way to go. And then one of the mistakes I see that authors make a lot when they bring out their book is that either they don't do a book launch, they focus exclusively on the book launch, and they forget to continue to market their book after it comes out. So you want to put together a marketing budget for each month. And it doesn't have to be huge. It's not like you have to drop like $500 every single month on book marketing. You can say like, oh, I have $25 set aside for book marketing every single month. And, anything that I choose is going to help me achieve my goals that I set in step 1 when I was setting my goals. So you'll want to put together your budget for that. It doesn't have to be a massive, huge budget. My budgets tend to be anywhere between $1,500 to $2,500. This book launch that's coming up, it's actually on the smaller side. It's closer to $1,500. So your book budget can be as big as you want it to be. It can be as small as you want it to be. If you only have a few $100s to invest in your book launch, you can do that. You just need to spend more time versus paying people to do things for you. Okay, so step 3 is finding your readers. So when you going back to finding the purpose of your book, once you know the purpose of your book, it makes it a little bit easier to know who your readers are and how to find them. So you want to know, okay, what genres do they normally read? Where do they hang out online? Are they in Facebook groups? And if so, do I need to go into Facebook groups to find them? Are they hanging out on Instagram? Are they on Twitter? Are there certain blogs and communities that they're a part of? Like, do they go to subscription boxes and, tend to buy a lot of books from their subscription boxes? And then you also want to find out where they hang out offline, because there are a lot of readers that, aren't into that whole social media land and running around and finding books here, there, and wherever. So they will actually be offline. They're the people that will be most likely to be in libraries or going to bookstores, but you need to know where they hang out. And then what sources do they turn to for book recommendations? Are they talking to their friends and family members? Do they tend to subscribe to newsletters or see what's popular, what's trending locally or, across the world? So think about those things. And that's a step that I get very in depth in my book launch course. But, you find out exactly how to find your readers and where to go to make sure that they see your book and they know that you have something amazing that's coming out. So step 4, I want to talk a little bit about the tools that you can actually use to publish your book, because while it's all good and well to put together a marketing plan, if you don't actually know how to get your book out there, you'll have a problem. So I do recommend publishing both a paperback book and an ebook. Ebooks are a little bit easier to get out into the market. With the paperback, you do have to have someone design both the front and back cover and the spine. And so you need to do a little bit of calculation with how many pages your book needs to be. But both CreateSpace, Ingram Spark, and Kindle Direct Publishing offer print-on-demand services for your paperback book. And so what that allows you to do is, once you upload all the files that they need, people will be able to buy your book off of the vendors that you select, like Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Books A Million. They all sell indie books. But they'll be able to buy your book directly offline. And what you get is the benefit of not having to keep any copies of your book in-house. You can, but you don't have to. And there are pros and cons with using each of these 3 different vendors. And that's also something I get into with in my book launch course as well. CreateSpace is personally what I use to publish my books. It's fairly easy to do. They provide you an ISBN code that you can use, which all printed books need that. And they actually provide it for free. And then also, I'm allowed to buy all of their copies at a very discounted rate. So those are great for doing events. Like if I have a book launch event, or if I'm going to a book fair, or if I'm doing a book signer, I tend to have between 15 to 20 copies of my book with me at all times, which helps with, quickly selling those and getting those out there. And then for your ebook, the other tools you can use are KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing. They do both printed books and ebooks now. That's a fairly new feature. Draft to digital, it actually expands your distribution of your ebooks. So if you really want to get on Kobo or Nook and iBooks, Draft to digital does that for you. Smashword is also another way you can really get your ebook out there into all the different outlets. So those are some of the tools that I recommend using. You'll definitely need to do your research to see, which tools will help you meet your goals and select the ones that apply. All right, so step 5 is your book launch timeline. So I've listed out all the different things that you'll need to do with your book launch. And one of the number 1 things I recommend doing is setting your date for a book launch and then working backwards. So I would recommend giving yourself anywhere between 3 to 6 months to put together your book launch plan and set up your timeline, just because it'll give you enough time to start planning different things. You won't feel rushed because you have to do everything in 1 month. So set your date, and then from there, go ahead and build out your book sales page. And while you're building that out, or if you're having someone else build it out, you'll need a cover design to do that. And you can either get an unofficial one. I actually use canva.com to create unofficial book covers, and you can, have a mock-up in place that says unofficial book cover for your book sales page. And then once you have that built out, from there, I recommend going ahead and hiring out your designer to do your book cover design and really writing out your vision. Because one of the things is, with technology and social media, people really judge books by their covers now. And you know, you can go on Instagram and you can see, oh my gosh, like all these gorgeous book covers, and you definitely want yours to be something beautiful that people will look at, and that's the hook. They see the book cover and they're like, oh, let me find out more about this book. I want to know more. And so that really is your lead in. Your book cover is your hook. And then from there, once you have those set up, you can really start working with your beta readers and your editors, just getting that book finalized and getting to the point where it's ready to go. But before it's ready to go, you can even start with your pre-order bonuses, deciding, okay, what am I going to offer to people who buy my book before it comes out? One of the things that I love to do is I love doing bookmarks, just because it's simple and easy to do. It's inexpensive, and it also allows me to send someone something tangible that they can hold in their hands. And so there's 16 different pre-order bonuses that I go over in my book launch course. And so that can help you really determine, okay, what's in my budget and what do I want to give people for pre-ordering books. Now, not everyone needs to do a pre-order. You can actually just publish your book and have like a huge, like massive push on launch date. So again, decide what your goals are. You know, if you're really focused on getting that #1 bestseller rank, it might be best just to have that one book launch and not do any pre-order, so that you have all your sales coming in at the same time. And then the last thing for your book launch timeline is that you definitely want to put together a team that will help promote and market your book for you. And this part is kind of fun. You can either do it over email or set up a Facebook group and ask people to, you know, join your launch team. But one of the things that I find is really fun is that I'll go into different Facebook groups and I'll say, hey, I'm putting together my book launch team. Are you interested in joining? And I'll have like complete strangers sign up to join a book launch team. So don't feel like because like your book is brand new and you're a new author, or you already have a ton of books out, that you can't find a team. You can always find a team of people that are ready and willing to like promote your book for you and really help you out with that, because publishing is exciting. It's a fun thing to do. So that is everything that I have for today, kind of just walking you through. But I did want to tell you about, we have 2 special offers for you today. So this is the first one. So if you are past the point where you're writing and you're ready to start planning your book launch and you really need help with that book marketing, then I do offer a book launch course for you. And so in section 1, we'll learn all about how to plan your book launch. So you'll learn what to do before you set the date for your book launch, which is your budget. I'll just go ahead and give you that one. You'll also put together a timeline for book marketing and what to expect at each step. And it actually gives you a timeline. You can print it out. You can write in all of your dates and determine, okay, this is what I need to do next. And then I'll go over a 30-minute session on how to actually find your readers and where to go to do that. And there is also resources available in that section too. Section 2 is all about pre-order pages and how to make not only your ebook, but also your paperback book available for pre-orders and start getting those orders in. And then also, since I love pre-order bonuses, I'll give you 16 ideas for both fiction and nonfiction books that won't, you know, break the bank. You won't have to spend $10,000, I promise. It will just be things that are easy to do that you can create. You'll just need to put in some time and energy. Section 3 is all about your book sales page. One of the things that has been on my heart is that I've gone to a lot of author websites and they just are awful. They're terrible. They have awful design. I look at them, I can't see them on my phone, and I'm like, okay, authors, they need to sell books. And so if you have a gorgeous book sales page with all of the elements, there are 12 elements that you need to successfully build out your book sales page, then that will help you sell more books. So I'll go over that very briefly in the course as well. And then section 4 is all about marketing your book. You know, why you should start building an email list now, what you should send them, how to get your book ambassadors, start building your book team. And then social media is huge, but it can be a waste of time. So, you know, how you should use social media for maximum exposure. And then because section 4 is all about marketing and it gets pretty long, we'll talk about ads, giveaways, virtual parties, and then the fastest way you can get your book into the hands of hundreds of readers. And so with that, I do have a special offer for today. The normal price of this course is $200, or 2 payments of $100, but I will stick a link into the chat and you can click on it and see what your special offer is for today. So that is what I have, and I'm going to come back on. And Jaquette, you also have something wonderful for our viewers here.
Yes, I do. Okay. Sounds a little different. Does it sound different on your end?
Uh, oh, I think it's fine.
Okay, sorry. Okay. Well, today I am offering my workbook. It's my book idea to outline workbook. I've used it for myself, and I've also used it with my clients, and I've gotten great feedback from it. I even had one young lady who it's actually two things. I have the workbook that you can use if you're a self-starter and you don't really need someone to hold your hand to go through it. The workbook is fine. But if you are a person that kind of needs someone to work with you, I also offer a 90-minute coaching session with the workbook as well, and that's what she did with me. We worked through every element of it. We came up with the purpose of her book, her audience that she was looking for, the writing strategies that she could use, the ones that were realistic for her situation. And then we actually went through in that 90-minute session and got through the bulk of her outline for her. She had all of her highlights. We even started working on the sub portions of those main points, and she felt very comfortable with it. Long story short, she ended up losing her outline, but she was able to go back through the workbook on her own, and she said she was able to easily get it done. And she's actually about a third of the way done with her book now. So it's a really neat tool that you can just kind of use, like I said, if you're a self-starter, but you just need someone to sort of show you exactly what to do in terms of getting your problem that your book is going to solve your audience and helping you figure out the writing strategies that work for you, figuring out what your target word count is, how many pages you'd like your book to be, things of that nature. So I will also type in the link where you can access that and determine if you'd like just the workbook or if you would like to invest in the workbook plus one coaching session with me.
Yeah, and that's amazing because I do have to say, I actually went through a writing group when I was writing The Five Warriors, and it was so helpful to have, that accountability, to have people say, hey, like, okay, this is what you should be doing, and then looking over it and going, okay, great, or you could do this. So I would highly recommend, getting the workbook and doing a coaching session, just because it's so helpful. And like, I don't think I would have like finished my book and gotten it out there if I didn't have that accountability. No lie. Yeah, it's just one of those things. Oh, hi, Stephanie. So awesome. Hey, we're taking questions right now. So if you do have any questions, just type them into the chat and we would do our best to answer them. Wonderful. And the chat is right beside the video on the right-hand side of the page. So if you don't see it, that's where it's at. But yeah, coaching has been, oh my gosh, so amazing. And it was really cool yesterday. I was talking to another author who actually just gave me his book to read. He printed it out and I was so excited. It's a thriller. But we were just talking about how when you're writing your book, like you get to one point where you're like, okay, like either I can never finish this and I'm always editing it, or done. I just need to be done with this book. And so we were just talking about that. And I'm like, yeah, like I feel like The Five Warriors, like there's so much I could do with it. I could just go back and just do another revision on it because I've been writing longer and I know so much more about the art of writing. And I'm like, I could do better.
I definitely second that. That's exactly how I feel about my first book as well. It's just great to be able to get it out there, like you said, because if not, I think what we usually will end up doing is that perfectionism will rear its ugly head and we'll just never get it out there. But like you said, we just got to put our foot down, get it out there, because you can go ahead and revise it later. That's always an option. So
Oh, that is the truth.
second that.
Okay, we do have one question. Stephanie asks, when do you determine the appropriate time to start pre-selling? When your editor has it or when it's done? That's a good question. I think it depends on how intense your editing is. Like if you're just doing proofreading and it's just fixing all the mistakes, then I would say, yeah, you can go ahead and start pre-selling. And I would recommend starting pre-selling no more than 3 months before your book is available. I'm pre-selling right now and I'm super impatient. I wish the book was out now. And I'm like, this is the worst. But like keep yourself like no more than 3 months and make sure your book is at the point where it's almost the final. Like if you're doing a developmental or contextual edit and you're basically going to have to write another draft after you get the book back, just don't start pre-selling yet. Do you have anything to add?
I definitely agree. Like you said, when I had my first editor, it was more of the proofreading, and so the editing process went fairly quickly. And I was able to go ahead and start those pre-sales a lot earlier. But with the content editor, they're like that high school teacher, they rip it apart. So it definitely does take a longer time. So I would wait on that.
Oh, yes, it does. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm doing proofreading right now, and I gave my editor 6 weeks, I think, just because the book is so long. It's about 90,000 words, but anywhere between like 90,000 and 120,000 words, I tend to give them 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, just so that they can do their rounds of proofreading and then go back over it again if they need to. And then I still have time once they get the book back to me to go ahead and approve all of their changes. And then I always do print books. So I order a paperback from CreateSpace and then I read the book and then I make more changes and then it's finally done. So the book is available for pre-sale. I'll have it back in March, but then I still need to do all of my final edits before it can go on sale. Such a process.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, great. Well, I think that is it. Chiquette, do you have anything else you want to say? Any final words of wisdom?
I say, your first time around, especially, like Angela had mentioned, just get it done. Get your ideas out of your head onto paper, because it's a lot easier to go back and improve later. But just get it out there. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, and that's okay. But just know you don't have to be alone. You can have resources like the workbook that I'm offering. You can have resources like the book launch course that Angela's offering, so that you don't have to make all of the same mistakes that we made on our first time. This doesn't mean you're not going to make any, but we definitely know and stand behind what we're offering and know that it will help eliminate a lot of problems that we encounter. So
Yes.
just get it out there and just, enjoy the process.
Yeah. And it's nerve-wracking to get your book out there, but it's so worth it.
Yes, it is.
Oh my gosh. Good. Well, I will be sending out a replay of this. So if you feel like you want to watch it again, you'll have that. I'll also send out the links to the resources in an email, so you'll have that as well. All right. And we're off.
Okay. Thanks.
Thanks for joining.